Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Biblio Files, where each week we take about 5 minutes or so and answer one big, small question all about books. My name is Amanda, and with me is Christopher and Lucy. And this week we took it upon ourselves to answer the question, what's your favorite scary book? What's the scariest book you've read? This is a good question. Christopher, what did you pick?
Well, I have not read a lot of scary books, and I certainly haven't read a lot of traditional horror stories. But the book I chose was The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson. While I absolutely love The Lottery, my favorite story in that book is called The Witch. It's a few pages long, and it's a very brief conversation between a young boy and an old man on the train. And the turn of the conversation is so startling and so unusual. The reader is really taken aback and kind of can't believe what the old man just said. I find that she's a master of psychological creepiness, and I really love reading her. So that's what I picked this time, Shirley Jackson.
I'm
Lucy?
really glad you picked Shirley Jackson because she's definitely on the list of like spooky writers that are really, really good and do a good job at it. So
Yeah,
yay.
she's great. And I think there's a new graphic novel out that is a retelling of The Lottery as well. I haven't seen that. So, Lucy?
It's funny, Shirley Jackson was on my list of people to possibly pick or books to pick. But I went with a book called The Shining Girls by Lauren Bucas. And this book, I don't read a lot of scary books, or I haven't read a lot of things that really like terrify me. This is a book about a time traveling serial killer, which sounds weird, but the idea is he is in like Depression era Chicago, this man, and he wanders into a house. He's sort of drawn into it. Maybe he recognizes the house, maybe he doesn't. It's filled with objects that maybe he recognizes, maybe he doesn't. He's not sure, but each object pulls him somewhere in time to the life of a little girl. And it turns out that later those little girls grow up to be his victims. So he's sort of like all over the place with them. But it's very scary in the fact that like, it's hard to, there's no pattern for him. So I think that's what makes it really scary to me. It's just any little girl whose life he gets pulled into. You also get attached to the victims because they introduce their stories one girl at a time. So those are the elements that made it really scary. It is ultimately about like the one girl who he can't seem to get to, who kind of gets away. So I've never read anything like it. It really scared me. It's not for the faint of heart. There's details, plenty of details about what he's doing. So that's The Shining Girls. And yeah, it terrified me.
I like how at the beginning when you started talking, you were like, the book I chose this week is The Shining Girls. There was like this pause.
Like, is it? No. Yeah. So not The Shining, but The Shining Girls. Amanda, what did you choose?
I had a hard time choosing a book as well as every week. There are just so many good choices. And I decided to go with a book that actually scared me. It's a ghost story. It's by an Icelandic author, Ursa Sigir, their daughter, and the book is I Remember You, a Ghost Story. And I tend to watch more spooky TV shows and spooky movies and books, and this is one book that is so slow, and the way it reveals all of the little twists and turns. It was so spooky, and like the hairs on my arms were just raised. So basically there are, I think, like 3 friends, and they are headed to a remote village in the West Fjords of Iceland to renovate this house. They get there, it's a ramshackle place, nothing is working, there's no electricity, and they soon find that there is something or someone in the house that doesn't want them there. So you've got that element going on. Meanwhile, in another part of Iceland, you've got a doctor who's working with the police on some missing persons reports and a murder, and the 2 stories kind of come together, but it's so well done. The author she has a popular series. She writes a lot of detective crime fiction set in Iceland, and she has a popular series that is a lawyer that does investigations. And so this is sort of a standalone novel that's just a ghost story, and it is so spooky and scary, and it came out in 2014, and I read it shortly after that. So it was just one of those books that it just was unnerving as a supernatural mystery that stuck with you. And for books, I really prefer to read more something that's spooky and gets under your skin versus just like a slasher scene with lots of like blood and gore. I want to be afraid of what's on the next page, and this book really does it. So I Remember You, A Ghost Story by Ursa Sigir, the daughter. Yep. Any final thoughts?
No, nobody mentioned Stephen King, which even though I said
I subtly did, and I subtly made you seem like you did.
I know.
All right, so next week we will be chatting once again here on Biblio Files. Thank you for joining us. Next week we will answer the question, what is your favorite graphic novel? What's a really, really great graphic novel or comic that you have in your arsenal? This is YouTube. If you want to go ahead and like our video, that's great. Subscribe to AADL TV. That's the library's YouTube channel. We would love that. And if you would like to join our conversation and let us know what books freaked you out, what do you like? What's really, really good and so scary? Go ahead and drop a comment. There's a link below that'll take you to the library's website, and you can let us know, recommend some stuff to us. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.